Calm during chaos? Unique. Unflappable amidst turmoil, orchestrating events. Intriguing, unsettling composure. Rare sight, inner strength, delight in drama. Quiet confidence, knowing smile, world burns. Ponder human nature, reactions. Sparks curiosity, a question. Have you ever met someone who carries the room during chaos? Who turns their private pain into wisdom? And whose imagination feels more vivid than real life? They don't brag. They don't posture. But they move differently. That's not magic. In this video, we're breaking down 3 of the most powerful, yet least understood, INFJ superpowers. 1. Transforming heartbreak into purpose. 2. Building worlds inside their minds. 3. Holding emotional space when everything falls apart. And if you're new here, I'm Lisa, a top 10% YouTube creator in uploads and impact. Around here, we don't do fluff, we do depth. Let's get into it. Part 1, turning pain into purpose. Let's start with what most people never see. INFJs don't just feel pain, they transmute it. Where others avoid or numb their suffering, INFJs absorb it, sit with it, dissect it, and then they turn it into something useful. This isn't just a coping mechanism, it's a psychological superpower. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth, the rare process of not just bouncing back, but bouncing forward from trauma. While others ask, why me? INFJs ask, what does this mean? How do I grow from this? How can I use this to help someone else? It's why many INFJs become therapists, writers, life coaches, or quiet guides. Their scars turn into roadmaps. But here's the wild part. Most INFJs don't even realize they're doing this. To them, it just feels like survival. But to everyone else, it looks like alchemy, emotional alchemy. Have you ever felt like someone gave you the exact advice you needed, but never once mentioned their own struggle? That's the INFJ way. They don't lead with their wounds. They lead with the wisdom their wounds created. So if people tell you, you always know what to say, it's probably because you've already lived what they're going through. You just turned your pain into purpose. The 3 stages of INFJ transmutation. Let's break this down visually for a second. Think of the INFJ mind as an emotional recycling plant, one that takes raw, painful material and turns it into something useful, clear, and even beautiful. Here are the 3 stages of INFJ transmutation. 1, absorption. INFJs don't block emotions. They absorb them like sponges. Whether it's their own grief or someone else's heartbreak, they let it in. 2, integration. This is where the real work happens. They don't ignore the pain. They examine it. They process it through introspection, journaling, silence. They connect dots others overlook. 3, alchemy. This is the transformation stage. They take all that emotional data and turn it into wisdom, insight, a story, a solution, sometimes even a mission, and they rarely brag about it because to an INFJ, it's just how they survive. But to the rest of us, it's pure psychological gold. Part 2, creating worlds inside their minds. Now let's talk imagination, but not the kind that escapes reality, the kind that prepares for it. INFJs are master mental architects. They don't just daydream, they run simulations. They build vivid, emotional, and detailed worlds inside their minds. Future conversations, alternate timelines, complex problem solving, emotional rehearsals. What looks like spacing out to others is actually planning, visioning, forecasting. Psychologists call this prospection, the ability to mentally simulate possible futures. Most people visit that space. It's like a mental time machine. When you see an INFJ zoning out, they're not escaping. They're literally testing out conversations, endings, outcomes. You could even say, it's not just daydreaming, it's your brain running predictive simulations like a NASA launch sequence. That's why INFJs often seem 5 steps ahead. Their brains have already rehearsed this. INFJs live there. That's why when challenges show up in real life, INFJs often seem uncannily prepared. They've already run the scene 10 different ways. They've emotionally tested the outcomes. And when they speak, their suggestions land like prophecy. But here's the shadow side. Because their inner world is so rich, reality often feels underwhelming. Conversations feel flatter, relationships feel less layered, even joyful moments feel muted compared to what they envisioned. And that can lead to a quiet ache, a feeling of being out of place. Because when you live in high definition inside your mind, the real world can feel like low res. So let me ask you, have you ever been accused of zoning out only to come back with an insight that shifted the whole conversation? That's not distraction. That's high-level mental simulation. That's how INFJs bring back brilliance from other dimensions. Remember how we talked about emotional alchemy earlier? Let's come back to that now that you've seen how INFJs build inner worlds and hold space for chaos. When those two traits combine, vision plus emotional anchoring, it creates something rare, an individual who can guide others through uncertainty without ever raising their voice. That's not charisma. That's INFJ architecture. Part 3, holding space for chaos. And finally, let's talk about calm in the storm. When the world is unraveling emotionally, socially, or energetically, most people panic. INFJs, they anchor, they don't rush to fix things, they don't absorb the chaos, they hold space for it. This isn't just staying calm, it's called emotional anchoring, and it's one of the rarest interpersonal gifts. In psychology, it's known as affect labeling, the ability to regulate emotional chaos simply by naming it, witnessing it, and not panicking. INFJs do this instinctively. They often become the emotional container in crisis. It's why people cry around them. It's why others feel safe saying things they've never said out loud. But here's the hidden cost. Because INFJs are so good at this, they often don't get asked how they're doing. They carry emotional weight that doesn't even belong to them. Unprocessed grief, invisible stress, pain they absorbed in silence. They're the calm in everyone's storm, but they rarely let themselves break. So think back, in a moment of crisis, has someone quiet, maybe you, carried the emotional weight of the whole room without saying much at all? That's not coincidence. That's the INFJ gift of holding space for chaos. Tool drop, how INFJs can protect their energy. Let's make this practical. Here are 3 quick strategies INFJs can use to protect themselves after absorbing intense emotional energy. 1, label what's not yours. Quietly ask, is this mine? If the answer is no, release it. 2, close the emotional loop, write it down, burn the page, talk to a safe friend. Don't let open loops keep cycling in your nervous system. 3, visualization reset. Picture a boundary, like a glass wall or foggy mist, that gently filters what enters your space. You're not cold, you're calibrated. Let's recap. If you turn pain into purpose, build detailed mental worlds, or hold emotional space during chaos, then you're not too sensitive. You're a rare emotional architect. That's the INFJ blueprint. Maybe INFJs aren't rare because of their traits, but because the world has trained people not to notice those things anymore. People often confuse INFJs with empaths, and while they overlap, they're not the same. So here's a mini masterclass, INFJ versus empath. What's the actual difference? Empaths feel, INFJs decode. An empath might drown in someone else's sorrow. An INFJ, they sense the sorrow, trace it to the source, and name what's really happening before the other person even figures it out. That's why INFJs don't just absorb energy. They frame it, hold it, and often transform it. Empaths might walk into a chaotic room and feel overwhelmed. INFJs walk in and instinctively know who's off, what's broken, and how to stabilize the energy without saying a word. They're not just emotional sponges, they're emotional anchors. And in a world full of noise, panic, and spiritual bypassing, that level of quiet clarity, it's not just rare, it's leadership. You're an INFJ, or someone with a remarkably rare emotional profile, and you're not here to fit in. You're here to remake the room. Before you go, drop a heart emoji if you see yourself in these traits, or tag someone who's walked through fire and came back a guide. And if this video gave language to things you've always felt but never said out loud, then like, share, and hit subscribe, because we're just getting started. In the next episode, we're decoding something deeply personal: why INFJs get ghosted, misunderstood, and emotionally breadcrumbed, and how to reclaim power in relationships where silence becomes a weapon. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to understand INFJ depth, because next time we're going even deeper. I'm Lisa. Stay grounded, stay rare, and remember, you don't have to be loud to be unforgettable.